let's see. First of all, first of all, it's really hard to sum it up in a really succinct way because and I've had this question asked of me over the years. That the film's been around a while now, and I've been stuck for an answer for all these years, and I still am. And it used to bother me, and in a lot of ways now, I guess it's okay with me because if you could really say what it was about in a few words or less, you really wouldn't have to see it.
It's too easy to distill, yeah.
It's a different kind of experience, but compared to Koenigsegge, this film has a different frame of reference, and it is more open. We obviously making editorial choices and choices of what subject matter are being recorded and put up on the screen, but it's not coming from a point of view of trying to get a message across. And we get there by choice of imagery, but also I think a lot of it's the music, just having a variety of music and the kind of music that it is. We're trying to Ron Fricke, the director, describes it as a guided meditation. So it's trying to leave space for the viewer to bring something to it that's kind of an inner type of experience, not an intellectual experience. Well, I think that the feeling of the film, or the essence or the core of the film, is what you have in mind, hopefully expressed well when you start, before you start. But how you get there is just an adventure. Very little of this was storyboarded. Some of it was, like the dolly into the monk's head and coming out in the night star field that we had kind of planned on trying to get imagery to show that. And then we had kind of categories of imagery, like organic images of nature without any people in them, city and manufacturing type images, people in prayer, groups in prayer, those sorts of imagery, categories that we went out and tried to film. But the way you put it together, what you end up coming home with is it's just you get a lot of luck, you get a lot of good luck and bad luck, and you end up with what you end up with. I mean, we stuck with it a long time and came back with enough. Well, I don't know about the mistake thing. I mean, it's just putting your head down and keeping going forward. I think that we weren't really looking back and thinking what we did wrong or whatever. I mean, I think you know when you have lucky moments. Like the eclipse, getting the eclipse, it just was one of those days that was cloudy, and then it just happened for us, and then it got cloudy again. You have one chance, and we just got lucky with it. I think the moments that you're maybe talking about are I think some of the portraiture, some of the individual portraits. You know when you find that person, or you roll the camera on that person, you've got something really great there. I think. I guess that happens with some of the motion control, the time-lapse material, which is very painful to come by. It's very time-consuming, and a lot goes wrong. And like the Starfield sequence at the end was almost a year's worth of work. We could only shoot 3 days around the full moon, so that the moon lit the foregrounds, and a lot of things would go wrong. And anyway, we ended up with 4 minutes or something after like 10 full moons or something. I think we were out for about 14 months, not straight, but we go out for 8 weeks and come back for a week, and we had trips, people back home planning the next loop, as we call them. It's pretty full on for that 14 months, and the whole film took about 2.5 years. Well, I can just tell you from experience that that's what's going on right now. I guess we didn't talk about that before, but Ron and I we're about 90% done with another film that was also shot in 70mm. We're doing some music right now, and we probably need a few more minutes of material, but we have about 80 some minutes. We've been to 26 countries in the last 4 years.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Wow.
So I would say it is a different experience now. It's it's more difficult in some ways and easier in others. It's easier to be out. It's easier to sort of be out in the world and eat and not get sick and sleep and things are a little nicer, I guess, than they were back when we did Baraka. But on the other hand, it's a lot harder to get access and permission. It's much more regulated, I guess, wherever you go.
I think it's harder to get insurance probably and things like that, and just and access to all these different, you're in Cambodia and all sorts of countries that over the past few years have had, growing human rights issues and all sorts of.
I mean, Cambodia is a lot easier now than it was when we did it. There was a civil war going on when we were there. The nice thing about it, there's just nobody there because of that, but there were also, when they found mines in one of the temples we were filming that evening, so that kind of stuff happened. It's kind of crazy to do it in film now, but we did it. At the time we started, the digital's always evolving very fast, and having had, this film has had fortunately a long life, and I didn't want to go out there with and shoot in a format that would be considered to be obsolete in 2 years, which kind of can happen with digital, and would have, because it was a 2K standard 4 years ago when we started, and it's no one would want to see that now. So
and now everyone has a 2K camera in their home video.
Right. But on the other hand, you pay a big price because you have to shoot very formally, which Ron likes to do, but you're kind of sitting out there. It's heavy and hard to move around and hard to kind of be quick on your feet with it, but you get through it. I don't know. You're sort of part of the environment when you're out there, and I guess it sometimes works in ways that, because we're slow to set up, you get out there and you get some dolly track down, and it takes a while, and you draw a lot of attention, and then eventually, people stop watching. Okay, yeah, that was one of the most amazing experiences that we had. That was a month that was in Tokyo, in the Ginza area, a very high-end shopping, kind of like the Rodeo Drive of Tokyo kind of thing. And we saw this guy walking down the street in prayer with a bowl, and we just pulled out and just started shooting him, and he never looked at us. He never stopped what he was doing. We just kind of followed him down the street for a couple of blocks, and it was kind of like we were like an extra challenge to him staying in this place, this meditative place he was, I guess. That was what happened. At the end, we put some money in the bowl, and he never even looked up or never stopped walking. Well, gosh, it's such a dynamic visual place. I mean, that's kind of what we were trying to fill the film with. It had a lot of the elements that we were trying to get into the film. Incredible portraits, interesting looking people, incredible rituals. The gods of burning, the cremations of everything, a beautiful part of the film. So it was a really kind of target-rich location. Hopefully sometime next year. I would think not early, because we have a lot of technical conforming to do from, they added to actually translating the film stock into a releasable form. There's just a fair amount of that kind of stuff to deal with after we, kind of decide what the film's going to be. So I would say maybe the latter part. Well, Ron was invited by the Saudi government some years earlier and shot that footage at that time, and then we were able to use some of it in Baraka. The mirrored mosque is in Iran. It's in the southern part of Iran, and that was one of those locations that we, did not know about. We were there and heard about it while we were there, and we had gone to Iran and wanted to shoot the ruins at Persepolis, and obviously it was a different political time than it is now. We did that, and honestly, that was one of those locations that was a little disappointing. You heard about it, and maybe it wasn't as visual as we hoped, but we found that amazing mosque, which was near there. The process in deciding where to shoot was, I said earlier, we kind of had categories of types of imagery with, organic and people in prayer and cities and manufacturing, and we tried to go to locations that would yield more than one type of material, just from an efficiency standpoint. So that was kind of how we made the decisions, and a lot of just research with National Geographic and picture books, photo books, and things like that. We shot, I think, about 17 hours of material for 90 minutes. So whatever that is, 9 or something, or. Michael Stearns, and yes, I'm working with Michael Stearns again. It's just a different approach, and I love those films. I listened to the soundtrack of those films, the Philip Glass story. I think they're incredible scores. I particularly like Paul Kotze myself, but for us, to maintain a viewer's interest for 96 minutes in this case, and I don't know how long those other films were. I really feel like the music's got to change up, and it works better for us to have more than one person's music on the film, and you got to use everything you got to keep it moving and interesting for a feature-length film, and it's really nice to be able to, Michael did about 20-25 minutes in this, and then we used the rest of it as other people's music and sound effects. We've got wind, and there are parts of that I think are really effective too. So those are all things that you do to try to change the pace, have intense parts, then have sort of parts that are kind of a breather, maybe musically, and just keep the dynamics moving to keep the film interesting for that long. So it's challenging to kind of tell a story like this without words and keep it, keep your attention. Well, Ron had shot Clint Scottsy, and then we got together a couple years after that, and we made a film called Kronos, an IMAX film, which was nonverbal, and that was a long time ago. And that was, IMAX films are about 35 minutes in length, because they usually have them in theaters that are in museums, and they want to have them turn them every hour. So we made this kind of art film, which was kind of unusual for IMAX, the IMAX world at that time. I know that IMAX has now theaters in cineplexes, multiplexes, and it's not really the IMAX that we knew, which is a 70mm film format, and it's now digital, so they've kind of expanded what I don't want to go down that road, but I forgot what the rest of your question.
The original inspiration.
Okay, yeah, so Kronos was like a kind of a sketch for this. Michael Stearns did the music for that, and we just expanded that to, and just went deeper into the themes that we found with that, and that's kind of frame of reference. Of trying to create an inner or guided meditation kind of thing, kind of feeling that doesn't become overly intellectual, and is much more of what you're feeling. I think that's what you're trying to do. There are chickens in the next film. We couldn't leave them alone.
Thank God. That's what we talk about. Mark, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.